When shooting a backlit scene, you'll want to know about the program mode, you'll want to know how to set the flash, in which case you'll want to know about the flash exposure compensation, you'll want to set the spot meter, you'll need to set the ISO, the white balance, and you may also want to know about the auto lighting optimizer. Let's go ahead and get started by setting the program mode. Using the mode dial at the top of the camera, go ahead and turn this to the letter P. This stands for program and gives you control over things like ISO and white balance. Depending on the situation, you may want to use the flash. To set the flash, go ahead and press the flash button right here. When using the flash, depending on your distance from the subject, you may or may not want to change the strength of the flash. To do so, go ahead and press the quick menu button right here, and then use the navigation buttons to scroll up to the flash exposure compensation field. Now you can use the main dial up here to change this value to increase the power of the flash or decrease the power of the flash. Usually I recommend taking your first picture with the flash exposure compensation set to 0. This way you'll know whether the flash strength needs to be increased or decreased. Now let's go ahead and set the spot meter. To set the spot meter, simply press the quick menu button again and use the navigation buttons to go down to your metering mode, which is right here. You can press the set button to see the different options, or you can just use the main dial to switch between the different options. This is what the spot meter looks like. It's just a small dot in the center of the square, and what the spot meter does is focus the camera's meter on the subject itself when judging the right amount of light for a properly exposed picture. This means the camera is not going to take the bright light from the background into consideration, which also means the bright light in the background will get much brighter. However, the subject will be properly exposed. Normally you don't use the spot meter and the flash in the same picture. So for example, if you're properly exposing your image for the subject, you don't need to use the flash. However, if you want both the subject and the background to be roughly properly exposed, then you would use the flash instead of the spot meter. Now that we've set the spot meter, I can go ahead and set my ISO. Go ahead and press the ISO button, which is right here at the top, and use the left and right navigation buttons to scroll through the different ISO settings. You can also use the main dial at the top of the camera. When you have the ISO properly selected, and this really depends on the amount of light in your scene, go ahead and press set. The reason you may want to increase the ISO, for example, is if you're not going to use the flash, and you're using the spot meter to properly expose for the subject. By doing so, the shutter speed slows down drastically so that you can't handhold the camera. By increasing the ISO, you can thereby increase the shutter speed so you can still handhold the camera so you don't get any blurry images from camera shake. Now let's go ahead and set the white balance. The easiest way to set the white balance is to press the up navigation or WB button right here. Now you can use either the right or left navigation buttons to scroll through the different options, or the main dial at the top of the camera. I'll go ahead and set my white balance to daylight. The reason I don't like auto white balance is because it generally doesn't do as good a job choosing the right colors for your image. If you select a more accurate white balance, you'll get more accurate colors in your image. Go ahead and press set to escape. For this image, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the flash because I'm using the spot meter. So I'll go ahead and just push that down. Now I'm ready to take my picture. I can go ahead, look through the viewfinder, and compose the image the way I want it. If you've selected a specific autofocus point, go ahead and position that focus point over your subject, and then press the shutter button halfway to lock focus. Once the camera has locked focus, go ahead and reposition the image so that it's composed the way you want it, and then press the shutter button the rest of the way to take the picture. If you simply have too much contrast in your image, what you might want to do is simply set the auto lighting optimizer. To do so, go ahead and press the quick menu button. Use your navigation buttons to move over to this field. This is the Auto Lighting Optimizer. Then you can press the Set button or roll the main dial to choose the Strong setting. Once you have the Strong setting selected, go ahead and press Set to escape. What this function does is slightly increase the camera's dynamic range by brightening up the shadows and darkening down the highlights just a little bit. That way the image won't be quite as contrasty.